Well, welcome back to AI in New York City. I'm your host, Ryan Eppley.
I'm your co-host, Rob May. I'm the CEO of Neurometric. And the AI and NYC show is focused on talking to different people all around the AI ecosystem in New York. So startups, investors, executives, just people doing interesting things. We're trying to give you a point of view on how AI is going to impact your life if you're a New Yorker.
Hey, I'm your other co-host, Anna Kirk. I'm sales lead at Thread AI. And today we have the pleasure of talking to Sam Koch from FeedbackNow about what it takes to actually have success implementing AI in practice. So Sam, maybe before we dive deeper, we have some burning questions for you, but why don't you give an overview of the story behind FeedbackNow, what inspired you starting it?
Sure. So I started a company out of Harvard Business School where we do AI for private equity funds, doing outbound to companies. Sourced over $2 billion in deals for funds, ranging from small mom and pop businesses that we helped funds buy to large $100 million plus businesses. And what we realized is that the processes that we had built in this to actually find and identify companies and reach out to them was the same kind of process that we could use to actually run these businesses more efficiently. And so along with some partners, including Rob here, we ended up buying a business, FeedbackNow, which is, I like to say, the buttons in the bathroom at the airport you might see when you go travel through New York, Boston, San Francisco, Miami, any large metro. Those are our buttons. And we've been transforming the business over the past year to actually improve and optimize it in how we run the business and also how that data is used by companies around the world.
So when those buttons don't work, now I know who to blame.
Yeah, call me.
I feel like that is such a hot topic these days, especially with the likes of like General Catalyst and Thrive starting their own roll-up strategies, other fresh MBAs starting search funds. So what do you think led to your success? And maybe for the people who aren't familiar with some of those terms I just mentioned, you could explain why it's such a big idea.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of concepts right now around buying and building businesses. There's a lot that AI can do to optimize inefficient workflows and really find businesses that in the past haven't been darlings of the acquisition stratosphere. So in the past, search funds, which is a kind of micro private equity asset, would buy a lot of SaaS businesses, so software as a service. But now the ability for you to buy into like hardware businesses allows for really big margin expansion, which is the kind of bread and butter of private equity. As for like why we've been successful at FeedbackNow, I think when we were looking for a business, we really thought about kind of two legs of what we wanted to do. One was, yeah, we can optimize a business with AI, but we also want to find a business that is going to benefit from AI expansion. And what FeedbackNow does is provide a level of data. You know, it's the buttons in the bathroom, but what you don't see is how many people are going in and out. When was it last cleaned? How full is the trash can? All of that data creates a model for a physical space that explains what's happening there. And so that data is now very valuable to the facility managers, the cleaning companies, to people who are buying commercial real estate. And so that is all making FeedbackNow a much bigger business than the one that we acquired, which was, for all intents and purposes, buttons in the bathroom.
Yeah, so I was an investor in Sam's company, original company, and that company was doing nicely, but he kind of said like, hey, I don't know that it's going to be like mega venture scale. And I said, well, what do you want to do next? And he's like, I think you could buy companies and apply these AI techniques to improve the margins of the companies. And I was like, oh, we should talk about this because we had at the fund I was running, like we had a similar thesis. So it was interesting because I think probably like 2 years before everybody started doing this, we really went out and bought a company and applied AI and found like, you know, where it works and where it doesn't. Because it's like, it's not as easy as you think. I mean, let's talk about that. Like, this is a good question, which is like, why is it harder than it looks? And why are so many people struggling? Either they get analysis paralysis around doing the deal because they can't figure out the specifics of applying AI, or the people that think like, oh, we're going to AIify this business up and down, and it turns out they actually struggle with that. Like, what are some of the challenges?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a people problem, right? Like, if you buy a business and the people don't want to make change, you're going to be stuck with a business where they're unhappy people and no change has been done. And so being able to like really work with the people and get them to say, no, I do want to make this change. I'm excited about this. And that really was the place that FeedbackNow was. The company that had owned it before was Forrester Research. Awesome business. They are kind of like Gartner. They do research for large companies, but it just wasn't the right fit. And FeedbackNow really wanted to grow on its own. And so by coming outside and saying, hey, we want to adopt new ideas, like we know that the way we're doing things isn't right. They were in that mode where they were really trying to learn and grow. And I think that has helped a lot. And then I think there's a big question about like whether you centralize that kind of growth of AI or whether you disseminate it and kind of have a more democratic view. We've been kind of focused as a private equity firm on centralizing it, simplifying the business, and really growing it via like identifying really simple to fix problems and then applying the AI to that. And it's been a good way to kind of improve the business.
The Mamdani approach to PE and AI.
We know it was coming up at some point on this episode.
Yes,
We're going to talk about that later. Yes, he won the election last night. So.
Well, I want to, like, anytime I hear a deal go down, can you, like, walk us through the actual terms of the deal a little bit, whatever you feel comfortable sharing? Like, how did the first deal really get done? Pen to paper.
You want to start or you want me to go?
So I'll tell a little bit of the story, and Sam can tell. So my first startup sold to our first big customer was MoMA, and the guy who ran MoMA at the time, the CIO, was a guy named Steve Peltzman. Steve was not Forrester, and Steve was the general manager of this business. And so the first thing we did was we talked to Steve about, so Sam and I sort of strategized, talked with Steve about this, and we went to make Forrester an offer, which I will tell you, as two guys who had never done anything like this before, to go to a publicly traded company and offer to buy a division of their business, their first comment was like, you guys are nuts.
Right.
But we were like really, really serious, and we started talking to investors.
Were you wearing your Rolling Stone shirt, or were you in suit and tie?
Not, yeah.
You wore the suit and tie and everything?
I was in between. I was not suit and tie, but I was not rock and roll. So
I want to buy your company and also have a concert later.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened from there. What's your recollection?
Yeah. It definitely was like a first meeting where they went, nah, you're kidding us.
Yeah.
But we really kind of came and showed the vision of what we thought FeedbackNow could be to them and where we thought we could really help with this transformation, with investing more capital into the business, with making changes that just their business model wasn't able to do. And so they saw that synergy, and they actually are part owners in FeedbackNow now, FeedbackNow later.
No,
but they've really been a great partner to us in kind of the journey and the spin out. But yeah, it's been a crazy experience. If you told me 2 years ago that you were going to buy a business that had international operations, worldwide deployments, and
I'm thinking about an apostille.
Yeah,
Sam and I spent it. Do you guys know what an apostille is?
no.
It's like
Not at all.
international notary.
yeah. But
And
you
Sam
can
and I
only
spent a whole half day.
like we had to go to like City Hall to get it, and like then mail it out through this very complicated system.
Yeah.
And
Everyone went there like, no, you haven't done this yet. And we're like, oh, we got you, you know.
yeah.
You have to get a notary, then you have to get the State Department to decide that it's a valid notary.
So I don't think you're an entrepreneur until you've opened a bank account in France, because that is maybe one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. It really makes you appreciate, you know, we shit a lot on America and particularly the situation that it's in right now with all the populism on both sides. But it's really a remarkable place to get stuff done. Like when you look at when we had to, this FeedbackNow had employees with Switzerland,
France.
They had employees in other countries, and we had to give them like 3 weeks notice, like from the time the deal was signed and ready to go. Then we had to wait 3 weeks and give them notice so that these employees could decide if they wanted to take our deal. And it was so complicated, like the rules over there. And like, I know it's bad to be able to like hire and fire people at will in some sense, but that lack of friction in the labor market here is just a fantastic reason that America's been so successful, because you just keep going. Like, it's easy. It's hard to get stuff done, but it's easier than in most countries. And I think we learned a really, really painful lesson. And I will say from yeah, I don't know if we're allowed to give specific numbers, because we might need some people's approval for that. But let's just say, like, we did not raise as much money as we hoped to get the deal done, and the seller provided a seller note to sort of finish it out. And we raised the money via syndicate from some family offices and one venture fund to get the deal done. But it was hard because it was kind of like a tweener between, it wasn't growing fast enough for venture and it wasn't profitable enough for private equity. So it was a little bit of a, like, people didn't know. People have mental buckets and they didn't know where to bucket it. But
I mean, now that's the hottest space imaginable.
Right.
It's like you now you don't want to scale.
Yeah.
To venture scale. Sam, you mentioned something earlier that I thought was really interesting around this management team's openness to adopting that technology. And in prior lives, I've looked at doing something like this on the AI transformation side, and where we've always come down is, like, we're always going to get handed the problem children in terms of management not being open to tech change. There's something that doesn't come across during diligence that we miss. I'm curious kind of what your experience was with ServiceNow, why you were so confident it was a good acquisition target, and why you were so confident in the culture.
If we bought ServiceNow, it'd be a totally different business. Just
Oh, no.
Feedback
Feedback now.
No, all
Feedback
good.
now. Edit that out.
But no, we really, I think, did our homework around the team, and we're also really trying. I think you have to lead with value at the end of the day. Like, taking everything about AI off the table. When you're going into a situation like this, the first thing you have to do is be a listener and be helpful. And I think we did a really good job of coming in and first being like, everything off the table. We're not gonna change anything. We're gonna listen, and we're gonna, like, just make tomorrow a little bit better than today was. And that earned a lot of trust within the organization, to the point where, like, hey, there are some uncomfortable changes you have to make when you're really trying to do a transformation. And if you start and rip that Band-Aid off right away, you can do that, and that's good in some situations. But if you've built trust first and then you do it, I think the organization is much more likely to back you through good times and bad times.
Well, walk us through that. What specific workflows did you really start with? You came in there one day, you built, a bit of rapport. You probably took a couple weeks to understand how things were going. What'd you start with? What was the first, like, workflow you actually automated?
Totally. So first big problem that I saw was we provide analytics to companies of how their sentiment, traffic movement, all that stuff. But data by itself is useless. What's valuable is the insights that you glean from that. And so our team, on average, was spending about 4 hours per quarter per customer coming up with interesting insights and examples of how businesses can do better using our data. That adds up to a lot of time, hundreds of hours of labor. And a lot of that was actually outsourced to a consultant that we were paying hundreds of dollars an hour to do that work. I built a workflow that included some SQL, included some calls to OpenAI, that actually automated about 90% of that workflow to build PowerPoint slides automatically. And that reduced the total time to about 15 minutes per presentation. And that didn't mean that the team was doing less work. That just meant that they were doing more important work. And that they weren't spending their time just, like, digging through the platform, but instead were, like, really coming with deeper insights, deeper understandings of the business, having longer conversations with the customers, and that drove value for everyone involved. And that was, like, a big sticking point. And when I came in, everyone was like, we need to hire more people. We need to hire more people. And the answer was, we actually didn't need more people. We needed a better process to improve.
If you were to have done this deal today, would you see the same outcome?
It's an interesting question. What do you mean by that?
What I'm alluding to is that I think the space is a little bit more crowded now in terms of people who might be following a similar strategy. There are a lot of acquisition targets, but probably a lot of noise also. Like, do you think that the space has changed? Do you think that there's still the same opportunity set that there was a couple years ago?
So people didn't like this business, right? Because we bought it when we started this process almost 2.5 years ago. There was still this point of view that like hardware sucks. And we saw this idea that in a world where software gets easier to write, hardware is a point of defensibility and is a good thing. And so I think AI has changed a lot of your points of defensibility and in sort of a competitive strategy sense. And I think we saw that. It was interesting. And also this business had a really unique property, which was there was a chance to go drive AI up and down the stack and improve the workflows. But also there's this like bigger vision, which you can talk about, of like what this could become when you have data and sensors in all of these physical locations.
Yeah, because like any great AI model that you use today is built off of tons and tons of data that feeds into it to make the weights what they are. And what we got really excited about for FeedbackNow was that FeedbackNow is the weights and measures of your real-time facilities. And so whether we're building that model for customers, which we are, or others are building on top of what we've built, it's a very important part of the stack that was totally under valued. And so that I don't know if the deal could have been done now the same way it was done then. I think interest rates were a little different. I think people's propensity to invest in this kind of stuff was different. But I also think in some ways, like the belief in AI and understanding of what it can be has also grown. So
yeah, these models typically don't take in real-time data yet. And if there's anything I've learned as an investor and entrepreneur in the last 20 years, it's that if you can take anything and make it faster, you normally expand the TAM, you open up use cases that weren't there.
Good things happen with speed.
Yeah, exactly. And there's almost always things that'll surprise you. And so I think these models will incorporate real-time data going forward at some point. And I think FeedbackNow can be a big part of that. And also as you have robots that come in to do all this stuff, like you need an operating system for the robots to understand where to go and what to do. That was a big part of our thesis a couple of years ago. So why don't we talk a little bit about your first startup? Because one of the things I think helped you with this deal is that you had actually done some stuff in the AI space before. And tell us a little bit about that idea and like sort of how that came to be and what you had to do to build AI for your sort of private equity outbound email business.
yeah, so Stealth Auto is deal sourcing for private equity firms and some B2B businesses as well. We use AI to identify the right person to reach out to, generate messages that are highly personalized, and then also send them out over multiple channels. That's email, LinkedIn messages, handwritten letters, all written by machines. And that's been a really good business as a service business, but we weren't able to really scale it beyond just like a nice, growing, profitable business, which is not a failure. I think that's a successful company in
Profit is
most,
good. Profit is good.
most parts of the world. But the way we did it was rather than go raise $5 or $10 million and build a huge team and overinvest potentially in growth, we saw a road to profitability, and me and my co-founder just went straight for that. And so with a small, nimble team, that means you have to find ways to cut costs wherever you can. And that means automation, that means support systems, that means figuring out ways to offload burdens away from yourself and onto either the customer or a service platform. And we were really successful in that. And I think that did really help me identify how to do that in other businesses as well. And that was kind of the playbook that I came to Rob with. I was like, we built the playbook, how to do this. I'm running a profitable business off of pennies when it should cost dollars. And I think a lot of these funds that I'm showing these deals to are trying to turn $1 into 90 cents. And I think you can turn $1 into 75 cents on the cost side and grow a lot faster. So about 95% of, money that's made off of private equity deals is either based off of margin expansion, which is like I bought a business for 3 times revenue and I'm going to sell it for 5 times revenue. Debt. So I bought it with debt and then sold it, and my equity is worth more, but the debt hasn't expanded as fast. Acquisitions. So I bought more businesses to roll up into one business. But actual synergies and efficiencies is less than 10% of the reasons why private equity funds make more money.
Can you expand on that a little bit? Like when you say synergies and efficiencies, what do you mean by that?
Like outside of just like cost cutting, like actual growth levers of new products or new innovation, coming up with ways to reduce costs that isn't just like cutting people. So yeah.
Yeah, back to our people conversation that can be a tricky one to lead with. Should we hop into news?
Yes. Actually,
Right?
while you guys do that, those bourbons have run through me, so I'm going to go to the bathroom while you guys start the news.
Okay.
All right, kicks off. What do we got on the first docket?
All right. Well, this would sound like any other headline in AI, except for one small detail. Cartesia AI, which is an AI text-to-speech model company, if you're not familiar, just announced they raised $100 million, led by Kleiner Perkins, in tandem with the announcement of its new model, Sonic 3, which Rob was very excited about because Sonic 3 is one of the first state space models to get major funding. So notable in that sense, but I'm curious, Ryan, what do you think about the future of this space? I know there's some criticism that, foundation model companies are getting, like, that service is getting commoditized. They're trying to scale at a venture rate, and that's just not sustainable. What do you think about that?
We could probably spend the entire podcast talking about this, mostly because, my co-founder, who is a very, very gifted technical mind, studied mathematics in a master's degree. She's all in on state space models in a lot of ways because there just seems to be more opportunity in the growth side, even though they're not as, tried and true yet. There seems to be more that can happen, whereas transformers are 2 + 2 + 2 + 2. It will get better, but there's not an exponential better. State space models seem that they have this black box ability that we can tap into. So it's something I'm very excited about.
Maybe we could take a quick step back, and could you define what a state space model is for those of us who haven't heard of it before?
Yeah, and I don't know, have you spent too much time in this space at all yet?
I played with a bunch of language models more as a user rather than a builder necessarily. So I've got some language models that we've like trained to do customer service, for example.
Yeah. All right, the bourbon man is back.
Yeah.
We did hop into state space models.
Yeah.
What's interesting about state space models from a technical perspective is they run a lot faster than transformer models. So I think what a lot of people don't understand is that most of modern AI is built on what's called a transformer model, which is one type of neural network. There are a lot more. There's also lots of types of AI that aren't neural networks that you can run. And ChatGPT, Claude, all these things are very, very similar. They're built on various transformer models. State space models are different. And so the reason that I called this article out is that it's the first major funding round for non-transformer based AI model, which I think is really promising for the industry because there's a lot of other ideas out there, and I think people that are working on those, some of these new architecture ideas are going to be necessary to push AI forward. So,
yeah, I think back to your point, transformers have had a architectural problem where you can only get them better incrementally. I think the idea of a state space model is you are having it train itself faster in a loop, allowing there to be more expansion and opportunity. Again, it's early. It's the first major announcement of a round. So I think we'll learn a lot over the next year or two. But what gets me excited is just that there's a new potential technical breakthrough that can change a lot of the research that isn't just, hey, we're going to pour more data into the old architectures. So that's something that I think is just opening up a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. So very, very exciting.
I'm curious your thoughts on how much better it can get and also how much better we need it to get. Because like when I run my 11 Labs voice cloning, it's pretty darn good. So like if I get 5-10% better, I think it would be almost indistinguishable from a human. What do you think that exponential state space model can be?
Yeah.
Well, are you talking about AI or are you talking about voice models? Because they're
I'm
different
talking about just
things.
voice. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how much better you need voice to get, but I think like it's the first battle for it to like be like, okay, this is clear. It's more so like how much faster can it get? I think it can get way faster. I think voice is a good use case that you're bringing up as like almost an antagonist of it. Like how much better does it need to get? I don't know. Transformers, I've used plenty of them. They're pretty good for voice, but I think I've already seen Sonic be better, and it's very early in it, right? Sonic is as good as I can't tell if I'm calling someone live or not. Whereas some Transformers, you sometimes can't tell, and then like halfway through sentence 2 or 3, you're like, okay, great. I have recognized that this is now an LLM behind the scene. But with Sonic, at least from what I've seen, I could probably go the whole conversation and not know.
And there's engineering challenges, right? Which is like the longer that you need it to talk, the more likely you are to have an error. You can always make these models, at least for quite some time, cheaper or smaller to run. A lot of people forget models are very big by computer program standards. And so they have a lot of errors. They're much more likely probabilistically to have an error when they run. They require more memory and all that. So making those smaller can always be good things. We know we're still really far away from the efficiency of the human brain from a sort of power and computational perspective. So that's cool. Before we go into the next article, you guys want to do our Mamdani jokes? So, all right. We have a new mayor-elect in New York City, and I asked 3 models, Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT, to write jokes about AI and Mamdani. They're terrible. I'm just going to tell you. None of them are good. But what we're going to do is I'm going to read 3. And if you've played with these models and you kind of know what's different about them, and we'll let the listeners do this as well, see if you can guess which model wrote which one. Okay. So the first joke, Zoran went so viral on TikTok that AI training models now think democratic socialism is just really good engagement optimization. So GPT-5 keeps asking, have you considered freezing the rent on my inference costs? Not a good joke.
Not a great joke.
We
can
give
do
it a 3
better.
out of 10. 3 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've got some comedians that might come on at some point, so we'll face them off and see if they can write better jokes. Second joke. When the AI met Mamdani, it asked, are you running for mayor to change the city, or did you just glitch into this election cycle? Mamdani grinned and said, why not both? Is glitch like, do they just mean like a technical glitch, or is that like a term the kids use?
I have no
Is that like
idea.
6, 7 or something like?
No, it's still below a 5, maybe incrementally a 4. Mostly because I think it's getting to the fact that he hasn't really had a job. So
Yeah,
he
okay.
glitched into it.
Okay. Oh, that's a good point. Okay. And the third is, I asked an AI chatbot to generate a slogan for Zoran Mamdani's campaign. It came back with, quote, a $30 minimum wage by 2030, or the AI will unionize your Roomba.
All right, I'll give that a
That's
little
a little better. Yeah.
Okay.
Throwing a Roomba in there, a little
So
union joke.
any vote. Okay. So again, the jokes were TikTok viral, blah, blah, blah. Glitch and Roomba unionization. Which one was Claude? Which one was Gemini? And which one was ChatGPT?
I feel like one was Chat GPT.
It was so wordy.
Went
Yeah,
viral.
it was long.
All right, everybody at home listening, you got your answers?
Lock in your vote.
The TikTok one, the one that mentioned GPT-5, the TikTok going viral, was actually Claude, which I will say, I think had the worst of all the jokes altogether, which makes sense. It's a business-focused app. The glitch one was ChatGPT. So that makes sense that it might be more up with the zeitgeist. That's kind of its presentation. And Unionize Your Roomba was Google Gemini.
Gemini's got the
Interesting.
jokes.
Yeah.
Gemini has got the jokes.
Gemini's got the jokes. That could be a good
All of the people.
advertisement for them.
Yeah. You got to do this again with Grok.
I mean, they did make Bard, so that was the
Yeah, we
see what
That was a
happens.
joke.
Grok, because it's trained on the Twitter data, probably has a lot
Yeah.
of
Oh, yeah.
zeitgeist in
That's
it.
gotta be
I-
spicy.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll do that one next time.
Oof. That's gonna be a joke.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into this article about data centers and the fact that people are taking used jet engines. Did you guys know this? Used
No.
jet engines to power data centers.
I don't know how ubiquitous it is, though. It sounds ludicrous.
Yeah, there was like a lot of Bitcoin mining stuff where people were like, we're going to use geothermal to totally change. I was like,
The article does make specific references. I can't imagine it's too many data centers are being powered by old jet engines.
I think it's actually this many. It's like 2 data centers. But to be fair, I think the article mentioned they're powering like a gigawatt, which is pretty substantial. And I think they can provide bridging power for like 6 or 7
and I think
years.
the focus is the fact that now there's a market for about 1,000 used jet engines a year. And now the prices are being bid up because you can relatively quickly and easily convert them into running with natural gas, being stationary, and you can fire them up in 5 minutes.
Right.
To get them
it's like
to
a
run.
generator, right?
Yeah, and so you don't have to wait on, because the problem is you have to go get power lines somewhere, you need
utilities.
permits. Takes a long time.
I guess my only pushback there is like, what is a limiting factor supply chain wise for getting a data center up and running? I don't think it's gas turbines usually. Like,
But isn't it power overall?
It's transformers and it's grid power. Hyperscalers are turning back to gas and they don't want to because technically they're abandoning a lot of their 2030 climate commitments. But that's just the reality of where we are now. It's power, but it's also time to power. So I'm curious, like, what kind of market even is there for this? Like, it's a cool headline.
$1 billion business idea. People peddling paddle boats that power AI data centers.
Here's what we
that's
do.
just the matrix.
The humans are still relevant.
We take one of those beer trolleys, the 4 of us hop on it, and we power a data
The ones you
center.
see in
They
downtown
pay
Nashville?
us millions.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Little mobile data center running around. Everybody's drinking.
Cool way to do the podcast.
Yeah.
For sure.
Honestly,
No,
next
we'd be
podcast, that's
fit.
what we're doing.
Nashville Mobile
Mark my words.
Bachelorette Party podcast. Oh, I don't know. You guys have to do that one without me.
We could probably all power 1 Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we got.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rob, you can't do it with bourbon. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that
Oh,
way.
man.
Maybe you could, but
All right.
some of us aren't built that way.
What else do we have?
Going back to the jet engine question, like, sounds great in theory, but like, there's got to be some issues around, like, you have to have some technician who knows how a jet engine works around.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be some other downsides to this. Why there's only 2 data centers
this is
doing
a big
it.
problem with the whole AI movement in general, right? Which is you're shifting around. You're taking a bunch of jobs out of the workforce. You're introducing a whole bunch of new ones, and it's happening so fast. So there's data center people we need. There's a shortage of electrical engineers. I mean, this is part of why your company exists, right? There's a shortage of electrical engineers. There's a shortage of chip designers, firmware people who know how far. Like, everybody now who's in tech is just a application designer. They know how to write Python code, and it's causing a lot of problems. And so
To your point, I definitely think there's a lack of technicians, that these data centers are like, oh man, like, we didn't realize how much maintenance went into these things. I'd also just say, like, I have a ton of friends building all types of aerospace engineering, aircrafts, things that are their whole kind of, prototyping is go buy cheap aftermarket engines, and then, they'll scale up and get their own production. But I wonder if with this article, they're like, man, if these hyperscalers take my aftermarket engines, like, someone's going to be really upset, and it's going to be these startup founders building really cool machines. So I'd be interested to ask some of my friends about that in the Twitter DMs.
I mean, if anything, though, like, the hyperscalers aren't the guys who need or want this. Like, all of the major oil and gas providers, I'm sure, have partnered with them in a heartbeat. So who is the real type of buyer for something like this? And maybe it's like smaller kind of inference-driven data centers. But like, if one of these things can power like 50 megawatts, even less than that, and you're talking like 20 of them for a gigawatt, like, that's a lot of kind of added operational complexity that you didn't have before.
It makes me
to
think
your
of
point.
like Behind Enemy Lines or something. The guy's like, there's an old jet that crashed, and like, I need to like spin up this like radio, and like, he's like tinkering behind the scenes.
Yeah,
to
it
try
feels
to
like
figure
passed
out.
away.
Yeah, like you're putting together this technology like Frankenstein machine to just figure out how to do something. But maybe data centers will be powered by jet engines. I think it's a low probability.
Well, I mean, there's some of these places. There's apparently a 6 to 8 year wait to get power lines distributed to your data center that you want to build, which is like who knows what the demand's going to be at that point, or what it's
That's
going to.
where all the nuclear companies are saying like, oh, it's, within our reach to do 6 to 8 years, right? It's very hard for the next, 6 to 8 months, but they're like, oh, 2032, I could be the power source for that.
Yeah.
So I've heard a lot of nuclear companies use that exact quote, like, wow, 6 to 8 years, like that's in our now pitch deck.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be overbuild for sure. Like, I think there's going to be a short-term time crunch where a lot of these hyperscalers are going to need to adapt using bridging power, but I think the market's going to catch up. And I think all of these nuclear power data centers, I think all the kind of repurposed offshore oil rigs, yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm sure there is a use case for it. I just don't know if it's like a macro level sector shift that we're going to see.
So
What are your thoughts?
Nassim Taleb, who wrote The Black Swan, tweeted one time a couple years ago. He tweeted during COVID, and I thought about this. It was with respect to the shipping container issues. He said, I've never seen a supply constraint not turn into a glut on the other side because everybody overbuilds. So I do agree with you. I mean, this happened obviously with Web 1.0 and fiber build out. We've talked about before how this is different because these things don't last 20 years and they depreciate faster. But still, I think it'll be on a smaller cycle, but I think there will be a glut. It'd be a really good time to go invest and buy up a bunch of the capacity probably.
It's interesting too, because I think it's localized in some ways. Like China has really great energy capacity compared to the US and like really good build. It's like some insane stats about what percentage of solar panels are produced in China. I think it's like more than 90%.
Did they also build like more nuclear plants last year than we have or something?
Yeah,
some
like
kind of stat like that?
Like they just have such well set up power. And I wonder like if the US power imbalance is so bad, like does more inference go to China? Does more, investment there?
Inference tariffs.
Yeah.
So it'll be,
Rob,
we
we know you
able to
love your
afford it.
tariffs.
Yeah, I know. Make jokes about that forever. All right, what's next?
Amazon is suing Perplexity to stop the model provider from allowing users to buy its items through its browser agent, Comet. What do you guys think about this?
My
I
favorite
think
article
maybe
of the
it'll set a precedent. Really, your favorite?
My favorite article of the week. I thought for sure that it's probably not going to get upheld. I don't feel like Amazon will win, but it makes me feel excited to understand how does a governing body look at an agent with all the old contracts being from a human entity? Because it's basically saying our user agreement with a user, now you have to define a user. So there's a lot of nouns that have to be defined in the world of agents, and all these contracts have never, even in the spirit of the contract, thought about an agent before. So I'm most excited about how do you define a user in all these service agreements that we've all just clicked a button on and said accept. They're decades old now. And all these agents are like, well, we're a user.
If it's doing it on your behalf, is it your proxy? Is it a user?
So to me, I think just from like a legal kind of nerd out for a moment, like how are we going to define a user in the age of agentic platforms is probably one of the more exciting articles of the week for sure for me.
I took a more strategic thought from it. I do think that's a great point that you made, but I looked at this from the perspective of like, well, why doesn't Amazon want this? So if you wanted to take a negative point of view on Amazon's business, you could argue that they sell a lot of shit cheaply that people buy, and they have a bunch of algorithms to know what you're not price sensitive for. And their business is about, like their ad business keeps growing because people pay to promote on Amazon. So they know the laziness of humans, and they know we're not going to dig 3 or 4 or 5 or 25 pages deep to find the best deal, particularly on a bunch of commoditized things that lots of people sell on there. But an agent would be happy to go and look at everything in their database and find you the best deal. And I'm sure Amazon wants to prevent that. So I think you're going to get this weird strategic battle between suddenly these agents give humans effectively the wherewithal, like the patience and the ability to go like really fast and like search through everything and figure out everything and like stuff that you and I would never waste the time to click on and figure out the best deal and negotiate forever relentlessly. And no e-commerce player actually wants that, right?
Well, especially once if you're not just on Amazon, but like if you're on Amazon and eBay and Alibaba, like
Yeah.
that's terrifying for someone who feels like they have a captured market. Like I would totally make a trade sometimes of like, yeah, I don't need this in one day, especially if my agent can tell me that I'm gonna need Drano in 4 weeks.
Yeah. You're in San Francisco this week. You're not even like, you don't care when this thing gets shipped here because you're not even going to be back for 5 days.
Exactly.
And your agent knows that.
I mean, is Amazon just trying to build their own? Like if I were them, that's exactly what I would be doing. I would be blocking everyone else's and trying to build my own. Either that or you have to alter what your kind of optimization looks like for different providers on your platform.
But agents could really give power back to the people over a lot of the tech control. I don't know how,
So will consumer protection come in on this one as well? Because right now they're doing it from, again, the de jure, we have a service agreement with a user. You've accepted this. We get to define that now. I totally agree in like the game theory of like, why wouldn't a business want this to be able to be, agentically bought through? Because now you have the user having more purchasing power in theory. But that's not what they're at least legally saying. They're saying like, no, it's our service agreement. So whether you look at it from a business angle or from a legal angle, both very exciting. This is probably going to be as important of an outcome as the OpenAI versus New York Times. I thought that was a massive, massive moment in this AI era. I think this is going to be maybe just as big.
Yeah, will definitely be some defining moments. And related to consumer protection, I don't know if you know this, but the very first consumer protection law originated from bourbon, which I know because I'm from Kentucky. So people were putting all kinds of stuff in water and other
I see.
liquids to make it look brown and whatever. People were getting really sick, and that was the first
All right, well, what was the first thing bought on the internet then?
a book. I don't know.
No?
Does anybody know?
No idea.
I'm pretty sure it was a pizza. I'm pretty sure it was Domino's.
Okay. Wow.
We'll have to look that up. Someone in the audience, let us know. But I'm pretty sure pizza
Yeah.
was like one of the first things bought on the internet.
That's pretty awesome, actually. Good. Well, that leads us into our question of the night. So we always ask one question about New York to sort of end up the show. Favorite New York burger? Who wants to go first? I mean, lots of good options. This is a city that has really good food. There are a lot of good burgers at a lot of good places, but does anybody have a favorite?
A lot
that
of
they
different ways you could go too with this
Yeah.
one. Smithfield Hall, pub burger.
Mm.
Love a good pub burger.
Come on, United. Come on.
Rooting for Liverpool, sorry.
Favorite? I don't think it's a burger per se, but like, if you got a Chick-fil-A, I'm eating it. I love Chick-fil-A.
Chicken burger?
I had it tonight.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know. Like I don't go out of my way for like a burger in the city, Do you have a spot in mind?
It's like a whole vibe because I was just there. But I don't know if you guys have ever been to Manhattan, but it's on the 60th floor in FiDi. You can see the whole city. We went this weekend for lunch, and it's just like a great burger, but also like great view. So it's good. Yeah.
I mean, I would say, and this place will be my answer to many of the best in New York questions, but I think the Smash Burger at Flatiron Room, which you guys know is one of my favorite hangouts. Yep. I think it's the best whiskey list. I think it's the best live music. It's all kinds of things.
Did I have a burger with you the last time we were there?
You did.
Maybe I did.
Yeah.
It was
And this podcast sponsored by.
Yeah, sponsored by Flatiron Room. Well, I mean, when we kicked this off, the three of us with some other people. So part of the way this group came together was we had a conversation at dinner at Flatiron Room that went totally off the rails. And we talked about all the things you're not supposed to talk about, religion and politics and a whole bunch of things. And like, we were still friends at the end of that conversation. We were like, oh yeah, we would be good to do this together because we
should do a podcast.
Yeah. So welcome to the chaos.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
totally the like 2020s version of we should buy a bar.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh God, yeah. It's like it reminds me of that one episode of How I Met Your Mother,
Yeah.
where Marshall's like on a search for like New York's best burger, and there's this like one burger spot that he couldn't possibly find. He thought it was Corner Bistro. Spoiler alert: it wasn't Corner Bistro, but it's on my list to try their burger. I don't know if you guys have tried it.
Well, this is another problem in New York, which is sometimes you've had a few too many drinks and you stumble into a place and it's late and you have a great burger and then you can't remember where you were.
Totally.
Or so I've had that happen as well. Good. Any closing thoughts? Anything you guys want to talk about that we didn't cover?
Send us your swag.
That's right. We forgot that in the beginning. Send us
Absolutely
your swag.
send us your swag. We'll wear it on the show.
Yeah.
We need to start doing that.
Also, I'll say that as part of our end of year show, we are going to shoot here in the studio on December 18th, I think, is our last show that we're going to record. And we're gonna profile 10 companies. So if you want to come in, be on the show, have a few thousand people see your demo, we'll put up a form shortly to take some applications for that. So it'll be fun.
All right. Thanks so much, Sam.
Is that the first item bought online?
Using the internet was a CD of Sting's album. 10 Summer Tale. Sting, really? A Sting album was the first.
Really?
That's disappointing.
We could do better.
Yeah.
Should have been a pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pizza was the first thing bought with Bitcoin, I think.
Yeah.
That
sounds
was
right.
Oh, that's
It
what
was
it
one of the
was.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, Sam, thanks for being on today. Hopefully, if you're watching, next time you are in a airport bathroom and you see the Feedback Now buttons, you will push them now that you know.
Hammer that.
Yeah, now that you know what happened.
Hammer the like button. Hammer the smileys.
Yep.
And if it breaks, you can call Sam.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for listening. Please rate us, like us, leave a comment, watch the other episodes. And if you know somebody that should be on the show, please send them our way. And yeah, thanks for listening. Please go watch the other podcasts.
Thanks, guys.